Sponsored by War Thunder. This is the Ultrakill Iceberg. Behind the brutal gameplay is a mix of cut content, obscure mechanics, and lore most players never see. This iceberg covers every single one of these, from unused weapons to the original scrapped plotline. We're diving from the surface straight through every layer of hell, starting with the Prelude. Hank is a fellow you can meet in level 1-4 by taking one of these bad boys and plonking it onto this body. Doing so triggers a message revealing that V1, for some strange reason, decided to name the body Hank. The sequel, fittingly named Hank Jr., appears in 5.3 by, can you believe it, plonking this onto this again. Here's hoping we get a conclusion to the Hank trilogy in the third act. Among the game's arsenal, 3 weapons have special alternate versions. These replace the base weapon entirely, but can be equipped independently for each weapon slot. The first is the slab revolver, and it's this huge fuck-off hand cannon. Yeah, they didn't really figure out the whole alternate concept when this one was made, but it's still great, and it's unlocked by finding 4 secret buttons throughout Limbo. Next up is the sword blade launcher, replacing the nail gun. You can find it at level 4-4 by completing the secret puzzle mentioned in 4.3 secret. Finally, there's the jackhammer, replacing the shotgun, and is found in 7.2 by clicking more buttons. Real original, guys. There's 3 secret bosses in Ultrakill, 1 for every act. The first can be found in level 1-2 and is part of the puzzle to unlock the alternate revolver. The boss is the infamous cancerous rodent, and it's paired with its much more radioactive brother, the very cancerous rodent. I am dying. The second boss is located deep within the Pyramids of Greed in 4.3. This boss is the mysterious Druid Knight and his owl. It's a nod to Mandalore Gaming, who made content on the game back when the game first came out. I said game a lot there, didn't I? Killing him also provides you with a hint to unlock the sword blade launcher in the next level. The final secret boss is hidden in 7.1 and is Big Jonator. He's basically a chaotic mashup of references pumped into one boss. He's voiced by Dave Oshry, the CEO of Ultrakill's publisher, and his textures and models comes from Dusk, another game by that same publisher. Clash mode is a secret cheat that is unlockable after destroying every box in Greed's secret level. The cheat allows you to enter Clash mode in regular gameplay. Funnily enough, Hakita and the team went back throughout the whole game and added boxes to spawn in during certain levels to ensure the entire game is finishable with Clash mode on. Very nice. The idea that V2 is still alive is both a popular fan theory and a really unfunny joke. Despite the very confirmed splatter in 4.4, the community's love for the character has led to many insisting it was fake and that V2 will return later in the game. This theory became so popular that Hakita himself has spoken on the topic multiple times, leading to the "reconstructs what?" meme in the Act 2 developer stream. Here's the twist though, in level 7S, V2 actually does reappear as a drink for V1. No, I'm not joking, this drink is meant to be V2. The developer museum is Ultrakill's unique credits map, replacing the old credits screen with a fully interactive level to explore. It showcases plushies of everyone who's worked on Ultrakill, alongside books detailing their work and a whole bunch of trivia and secrets. Florp is arguably the most well-known Easter egg in Ultrakill, because Florp. Located in level 5-2, you can reach this hidden gem by launching V1 into the ship's chimneys. Inside one of them lies the Florpy Florp. He's a little hamster gerbil fella. He also makes a cameo as a carved painting in 4.4, with the game files listed as legally distinct Florp. Also hidden 5.2 is Jakito, the most powerful being in the entire Ultrakill verse. I'm semi-joking here because I don't think he's canon. Anyways, Jakito appears on top of this giant cliff. Once reaching the top, he requests a living sacrifice, and after offering Florp to him, he escapes containment like an SCP and rapidly destroys the entire ocean Styx whilst crashing the game. Jakito's origins trace back to a common type of Hakita's name being Hakito, which then somehow devolved into the legendary Jakito. And now he's here, ascendant, unstoppable, divine. That's pretty cool. Armboy is another secret little dude located in level 6-1. Next to him is an inspiring piece of writing which reads, Armboy! Interestingly, there's a second Armboy on the developer museum, although he's much more homeless here. After gaining over 1 billion points through style, the counter on the terminal will switch from showing numbers to, like, a lot of P. This is a subtle reference to rich people. If you've ever watched some high-level Ultrakill gameplay, you might have seen someone ascend to heaven like this. This is slam storage, a glitch turns technique. To do this, slide against the wall, slam down, and jump before reaching the floor. You'll see these yellow particles if done correctly. Then, jump immediately after hitting the floor. This happens because the game is tricked into thinking V1 is constantly slamming towards the floor, making its final jump be much stronger than it should. Interestingly, the new main menu adds references to this technique, making it canon to V1's arsenal. As you probably know, Ultrakill mostly takes place within Hell. However, it is confirmed in numerous texts that Hell isn't simply a location, but an entity that is both capable of thought and actions. First revealed in the P2 ARG, which I'll discuss later, a text dialogue between 2 humans discussed the prospect of Hell most likely being sentient, before being cut off by Hell itself, reading,
Another dies. Bring me more. I hunger.
After the initial reveal, we've gotten a significant amount of evidence for this being the case, such as the warped entry from the Minotaur, P2's terminals, and the numerous communications between it and V1 during the violence layer. Many, if not most levels in Ultrakill are musical references. I can't be bothered to list them all though, so here's a nice swiping graphical effect of them. It's pretty cool, right? Talking about references, Devil May Cry is also heavily referenced in Ultrakill. The entire style meter is taken almost directly from the Devil May Cry series, and the webpage devilmayquake.com redirects you to the Ultrakill Steam page, most likely referring to how the game is like a mashup of Devil May Cry and Quake. I wonder when the devil will cry. There are various hidden seasonal events in Ultrakill. During Easter, all enemies wear bright pink bunny ears, along with a custom Easter variant for the main menu theme. For Halloween, this is replaced with chonky pumpkins and a Halloween theme. And for Christmas, they're Santa hats and of course a lovely Christmas theme. How festive. Appearing in only 2 levels, that being 1-3 and 4-3, Soap is quite literally the strongest weapon in the entire game, dealing a whopping 999,999 damage in a single hit. It's a nod to Dusk, in which it would also instantly kill everything. By setting your HUD to classic and your weapon position to be centered, V1 will emit an awfully familiar sound with every jump. This is a reference to the Quake series. Another Quake Easter egg can be found in the Earth Mover boss fight, as this door is almost identical to that of one found in Quake. The Tomb of Kings is found in 4-3 and is also where you fight the mysterious Druid Knight. However, many people missed the Easter egg in this room, that being that the corpses that lay in each coffin refers to different YouTubers. This was made as a sign of appreciation for those who covered the game early in development and boosted the player count tremendously, most likely leading to the major success of the game. The room in which the swordblade launcher can be found is also the Tomb of Sisyphus. Yes, that's Sisyphus, and you can find his enormous, horrifically decapitated body laid to rest alongside a portrait depicting him blinded by gold, or more specifically, greed. Absolute cinema as always, Akito. Interestingly enough, they only recently updated the model of Sisyphus's corpse. Fucking god. As it used to look like this, which clearly looks nothing like Sisyphus Prime. Glad that entry's done. Fuck me.
Fuck who?
The Discord server linked in game leads you to the New Blood Discord server, which hosts all the New Blood games including Ultrakill. This is the public Ultrakill Discord. However, the one that hosts many, if not all the infamous Hikita messages is actually a secret private server made before the game was bought out by New Blood. As you might have noticed from playing the game, Ultrakill does not feature highly realistic graphics and instead opts for a PS1 themed style. However, this decision wasn't entirely chosen simply to reduce development time, nor for its aesthetics. As described in the Sentry's terminal entry, machines in Ultrakill perceive the world in various different ways depending on their programming and hardware. V1, for example, uses incredibly simple graphical settings to maximize reaction time and processing speed to improve combat efficiency. On the contrary, Sentries are the exact opposite and were designed as snipers, and as such render the environment in full resolution. There are various hidden messages sent to the player by the user interface, the most notable one being, "Can't punch if you have no arms equipped, dumbass." There's also one for falling out of bounds, and custom messages for various glitches that are often performed by speedrunners, as Akita intentionally leaves these glitches in the game for them. During level 7-2, V1 prepares a bomb to use later in the level. However, taking the camera where it's not meant to be reveals a Hikita plush watching an animation named fucking Finland. The Earthmover boss fight features a ridiculous number of Easter eggs that most players will miss, the first being this tiny hat. Inside the brain contains a plushie of Victoria Holland, one of the developers. There's another plushie on the back of the distant Earthmover. These pipes on the side of the robot depict a version of the Lost meme. Inside of this room is an unopenable door. No clipping inside reveals a sunflower and a sign reading "Generator, Siphon Plant." By no clipping in level 6-1, you can find this gloriously classy message hidden on the roof of this building. Hopping into the sandbox map, activating no clip, and flying through this wall reveals a hidden terminal with a message from Gary. Yes, Gary from Gary's mod, giving permission to use the map to the Ultrakill team. In old versions of the Leviathan boss fight, this attack used to show a blue parry symbol. Despite this, there was an incredibly tight timing window in which you could parry the attack. This was then changed in the revamp update to avoid confusion. Revealed in the terminal, every Cerberus you encounter in the game is actually alive. Yes, even the statue ones. More interestingly, is that the energy orb they hold is incredibly difficult to keep stable, so it can be assumed that the dormant ones are simply too focused on keeping their balls opposing tank to bother fighting. If an elevator shaft is added in an update, but the destination isn't out yet, like the P2 elevator during the Act 2 update, a giant Hikita plush will cover the entrance to the level. By no-clipping into the elevator, Hikita will tell you,
"You're not supposed to be here."
When reaching the area that contains the impact hammer, V1 will come across a dead machine which houses the weapon. In the game files, this is named Excavator. The Excavator also has a flag written in Afrikaans which reads Fighter of the People. Its design is actually a scrapped version of the gutter tank. If you like all this machinery and tech, then check out today's sponsor, War Thunder. It is by far the most comprehensive vehicle-based combat game ever made. Ever. Just ever. Wait, ready? Holy crap. And it's available on PC, Xbox, PlayStation, and mobile for completely free. There's over 2,500 tanks, planes, helicopters, and ships from 10 major nations, covering everything from the biplanes found in the 1920s to modern-day fighter jets and tanks. This game runs like butter too, and the combat is just as slick. And the sound design, dude, okay, just listen. The vehicles actually fall apart and get damaged realistically too. It was honestly quite surprising just how much detail they put into every model. There's also the mobile version which genuinely surprised me in how good it was. I don't use some super high-end phone and yet it looked and played fantastically. With over 95 million players, hundreds of hours of carefully constructed content to play with, and some of the most explosive PvP battles you can imagine, you can use my links in the description or pinned comment to join the game. But not just that, no. New and returning players that haven't played in 6 months on PC or consoles get a massive bonus pack which includes an exclusive vehicle decorator, Eagle of Valor, 100,000 Silver Lions, and 7 days of premium account when using my link. But only for a limited time, so get it while you can. Moving back in level 7-2, we find this tower which is promptly destroyed in the battle. By moving around the encounter, we can actually enter the tower, which contains the most peaceful husk in the entire game for now. Ooh, pizza. Aww. During level 5S, V1 must fish up every type of fish to exit the level. Many of these, however, are references to things. The first and most obvious being the Pitta fish, which is referencing Pitta, a developer of the game. Metalfish is from Amid Evil, another New Blood game. Trompa is from Dusk, which I mentioned earlier. Frog is from Markiplier's upcoming movie, I'm joking, it's from Iron Lung, the game. Shark is a nod to the Blahaj shark plushie sold by IKEA, which is a meme in the LGBT community. The level name is also a reference to the internet phrase, I always say morning instead of good morning, because if it was a good morning, I'd be fishing. In P2, there are 3 incredibly specific and unique style bonuses, that being plus Strongold, plus Strong Bongold, and plus Screen Dongy Loaded. They're so specific, in fact, that it would take me several minutes to explain how to get them, hence another scrolling thing. There's a secret little fella in 4.2 who's building a lovely little sandcastle. This alone would be a wonderful Easter egg, but if you decide to be a piece of shit and destroy the sandcastle, an actual nuclear bomb explodes, instantly vaporizing V1 and any enemies. This explosion is completely undodgeable and continuously grows in size forever, and as such is also the biggest explosion possible in the entire game. Lore time, little context for those who don't know the super happy lore. Before humanity discovered the entrance to hell, there was an enormous war called the Final War. This iceberg entry here states the Final War is World War 1, which whilst not confirmed is most likely true. This is based on V1's firmware version given at the beginning of the game, which reads 2112.08.06. Since we know the Final War takes place for around 200 years, and that V1 was made just after the war was ended, that puts the beginning date for the Final War at 1912, just 2 short years before the real life beginning of World War 1. What most likely occurred is that the Final War is a branch from our reality's World War 1, where advancements took place in other fields as opposed to what occurred in reality. Continuing on from the war discussion, it is described in the Gutter Tank Terminal entry that after Russia developed the Guttermen, which wiped out foot soldiers with ease, Germany made the Gutter Tanks to counter the Guttermen. This cycle of counterplay continued for the entire war, to the point where humans were not even required to fight anymore. This eventually escalated to the Earth Movers being built towards the end of the Final War. Since V1 was being developed just before the war came to an end, it is highly likely that V1 was the counter to the Earth Mover. Inside the Impact Hammer building, you can also find a Gutterman's coffin. Breaking it open reveals a poem, seemingly written by a Gutterman, which speaks about having to destroy its own mother. The mother in question is the corpse attached to its back in the coffin, which supplies blood to the Gutterman. More interestingly is that later on in the level, V1 fights a Gutterman which has no coffin, which is heavily implied to be this exact Gutterman. This, alongside the P2 terminal, was the confirmation that machines were indeed alive and capable of thought and emotion, which was only previously a theory. Oh look, we're in Despite Source Machine being a recurring enemy in the game, they're all copies of the original Source Machine that we fight in level 03. It's not explained why this is the case, nor why they are all identical, but it's been repeatedly stated to be true even to this day. I personally believe it's most likely to disprove the Source Machine is the yellow arm theory. After the Ultra Revamp update, there's now a 1 in 50 chance for Mind Flayers to spawn in with a male body, as opposed to the standard female one. This is in line with the lore for the Mind Flayers, as the terminal entry reveals that the machine part is actually just this top part here, and the rest is exclusively plastic and cosmetic, which, whilst unrelated, was one of the earliest hints that machines were in fact capable of emotion. Throughout Ultrakill, there is a rather distinct lack of eyes present throughout the game. More notably is that the eyes that are present are almost all created by Hell itself, such as the eyes in Gluttony or the eyes that appear in the death screen. Although the reason isn't exactly known, the common theory is that Hell doesn't like to be perceived, which is somewhat backed up in the P2 ARG, where it's revealed that Hell will kill anyone that becomes aware of it being a living entity. Terminals have lore. The giant horse cock weighs over 11. Nah, just fucking with you. As mentioned prior, machines in Ultrakill are living creatures, and the terminals are among the first to showcase this. They can show numerous different messages that showcase emotion and awareness of their surroundings. They were built by humans to transmit objects over long distances, by turning them into radio waves and sending them to corresponding terminals. The only test conducted by humans was a vinyl disc of Were You Fallen? After humans stopped exploring Hell, the terminals grew bored and created the Cybergrind to test other machines' skills for entertainment, and in return it would materialize weaponry for them. This is also likely why Were You Fallen plays at the terminal, as it's a form of entertainment for the machine, and it's also the only musical piece ever consumed by the system. Continuing from the previous point, it's confirmed that machines contain actual living organs within themselves to make use of the blood within their systems. This is most evident in the new death screen, where it blatantly just says right here that V1 has internal organs. Another pretty clear hint is that the Earth Mover insides are all fleshy and alive. And lastly, despite the machine seemingly being made from metals, they've been exploding into gory gibs since the game first came out. The Earth Mover is Japanese, as per the Japanese text on the side of the machine. We also know that the Gutterman is German from this text, and the Gutterman is Russian because of this text. These are the swords that Gabriel wields to strike down his enemies. They are also the same swords used to murder Minos and decapitate Sisyphus. Pretty self-explanatory. The demo version that you can download on Steam and itch.io is ridiculously outdated. It features the original nail gun, pre-revamp levels, old parry timings, and the last level has a completely different final encounter. It's quite a fun little peek into the older versions of the game. Looking around in level 2-1 will reveal these fairly pointless elevators, along with a movable crane to get a secret orb. But by pressing them in backwards order, you get this secret. I totally got you, didn't I? Ultrakill is set to have an official level editor after 1.0 release. This is simply because updating the level editor and any custom maps for every update would increase the workload drastically for the dev team. Despite this, there is an incredibly private beta for the official level editor and 2 modded level editors out there with plenty of fan-made content to play. Unfortunately, almost all of the maps are broken on the current patch, so you'll need to find a way to downpatch the game. Good luck. At this horrific stage in 1.2, the music stops as you are met with a grim sight. At closer inspection, however, you'll notice that these are actually the old beta models left as an Easter egg. Kitty is a secret you can find inside the developer museum. Once heading to this location and touching the kitty, she'll follow you throughout the museum. It'll also unlock her in the spawner arm. Placing her into a regular level reveals that she can also attack enemies, making it entirely possible to do a Kitta only run of the game. Maybe. I lied to you earlier. A bold-faced lie. Directly to you. Not the other viewers. No. You. Remember this? The little seasonal events? Yeah, there's another. And it smears your game with Vaseline, only on April Fools. It's a subtle nod to the N64's method of texture filtering, which would make low-resolution textures transform into a blurry mess. As many of us have experienced, dying to the Prime Souls makes you want to implode. However, something you might have missed is that
Keep 'em coming.
They totally just referenced me respawning. We have absolutely no clue if this has any canonical implications or simply a neat little secret. The Minotaur terminal entry is incredibly censored for a few reasons. Firstly is that it can be interpreted that crossing out the information indicates that the creator regrets their creation. Secondly, it's heavily implied that Hell itself has changed the data for reasons I'll go into in the next entry. Within this censored information is the name of the Minotaur's creator. Throughout Ultrakill, we come across red text. This is Hell. It's often paired with odd spacing between lettering or incorrect usage of capitalization and can be found in various locations, such as the Minotaur terminal entry. This text style appears as far back in the game as the very intro. However, we don't know if this is actually Hell or simply red text. The implication of the former could mean that V1 was influenced all the way back in Prelude to invade Hell for its own entertainment entertainment purposes. Before the Act 2 update, the weapon terminal showcased that we were initially going to have yellow variants for the weapons as well. This was most likely cut to keep weapons important and fully fleshed out in terms of tech. At least for me, I've already noticed how niche the red variants are, so having an entire extra variant would most likely feel very hollow in terms of gameplay. Despite these being removed, the yellow arm persisted through every update so far, clearly meaning we can still expect the arm at some point before the final level. The Swords Machine have these cute little paws and are incredibly similar to that of the Sentry's paws. The Swords Machine terminal entry informs us that it has scavenging tendencies and rebuilds its own body with scraps to improve battle performance, so it's very likely that these are actual Sentry legs that have been scrapped into the Swords Machine for reasons. Go stand next to a mannequin, right now. Now, listen carefully. That's not edited in. Even more disturbingly is the tonal entry for them. Mannequins are unfortunate husks who make their way into the Garden of Forking Paths. Hell itself warps this maze to confuse the husk until they are too tired to fight back, in which Hell forcefully rips them apart and fuses them into hollow statues, eventually making them into mannequins. The Crystal of Madness is a secret item available in the spawner menu. Throwing it causes it to explode into a mist, and enemies caught in said mist begin to fight one another. It's an item originally found in Dusk, where it does the exact same thing. Interestingly enough, there's a red version of 7.3 which has the opposite effect, forcing every enemy to target you instead of fighting one another. More Earth Mover Easter eggs, yippee! As previously mentioned, the Earth Mover is of Japanese origin. 1000 in Japanese sounds like sen, and when paired with the THR from its title, sounds like the word centaur. The model for the Earth Mover is also named Centaur. Gutter tanks were vastly different in difficulty on the launch of Violence. Their brutal levels of behavior were on every type of difficulty, as they did not fall over after an unsuccessful punch. This was eventually changed in patch 14b, as the community would not stop bitching about them. Level 4-3, if you make it through the middle of the level without bringing the torch and decide to skip the secret boss room, this will happen. The music cuts out and the Something Wicked sound effect plays, before revealing, it's just a prank, bro. Some people might disagree on this entry being this low down, but fuck you. In the build up to P2's launch, Hakita released an entire ARG. For those who don't know what an ARG is, it's basically a massive online puzzle which the entire community tries to solve. I won't go into how we eventually got the answer because it's incredibly long and tedious, but it essentially revealed a hidden song named Ultra Church and a hidden terminal entry that revealed Hell was alive. I'm tying two entries together here because they're too short otherwise. The Minotaur's entry being struck through is exactly the same as found in House of Leaves. And the lighthouse visible in the distance in 5.2 is actually reachable. Going there reveals two skeletons, which is a reference to the 2019 film The Lighthouse. The idols we see in game are actually incredibly long and stick into the ground. Based on the terminal lore, this is because the ferrymen carve the idols out of Hellmass and need to actually attach them to the ground. However, from a gameplay perspective, this was most likely a way to give reason as to why V1 can't move them. The revamp update changed a lot of things, and one of the most notably big changes was the level 0S, which many players most likely missed. Entering the level after the revamp shows us this, the new model for Something Wicked, a decrepit set of dangling something with a clearly visible heart right in the middle. Some theorize this to actually be a failed prime soul, with the nervous system looking eerily similar to that of Minos and Sisyphus. The fact that Something Wicked can instantly kill V1 certainly backs this up somewhat. In the game files, you can find many pieces of cut Gabriel dialogue, most of them being from his original fight in 3.2. Funnily enough, when they added the second fight in Act 2, they also included this dialogue piece.
Snooping as usual, I see. Enough!
The sharpshooter on the day of launch was completely unbalanced and not playtested. This allowed players to instantly kill Flash Prison, the tankiest enemy in the game, because there was no cap on the damage it could do. Pairing it with 4 coins allowed the bullets to ricochet essentially forever. This was quickly nerfed to hell and back to its current state in the game. Despite everyone experiencing this, many simply don't notice it. In level 1-3, there is a vast amount of non-Euclidean geometry, somewhat similar to that of the Fraud layer. You're able to teleport smoothly between locations by dropping down here, and the skybox effect hides rooms that should appear ahead. This was quite self-explanatory. This clock here can read your computer's time and display it correctly. The easiest way to see this is by looking at it, changing tabs, and coming back to it a few minutes later. The clock will teleport to an updated position once you unpause the game. Despite the schism being introduced in level 03, you can find the corpses early in level 02, as the Swords Machine seemingly kills them off-screen. Interestingly enough, in the same level, you can fight Swords Machine an entire level early too. This is an old and scrapped variant of the shotgun, which was capable of shooting out a black hole. The idea of the gun was later reused as attacks of future boss fights like the Corpse of King Minos and the Flesh Prisons. The other weapon was the Beam Cutter, which would shoot out a constant low damage beam. The alternate fire would place a sort of drone that would continue to shoot the beam out at the location you were previously at. It was quickly cut after the idea was deemed shit as balls for a game like Ultrakill. Both of these weapons can be found and played around with within the Developer Museum. Talking of the Dev Museum, there's a well-hidden Easter egg within these things. Chuck 23 plushies into the bin and the fog is coming, the fog is coming, the fog is coming, the fog is coming. An enormous horde of 60 radiant filth spawn swarming the player almost immediately. Each filth has a PNG of Gianni glued to them with a thick fog covering the museum, along with every developer portrait being replaced with Gianni. In level 1-2, after entering the burning corridor, all the music will end. However, this isn't actually true, as the music is still technically playing, it's just a blank song. This is the calm track for this portion of the level. Placing an enemy down during the short period will begin the combat music, which will play a horrific distorted audio of children playing, named Kids Playing Cursed 2.og. It's unknown if this is intentional or a bug. Hopping into level 7-1 and making your way up here, you'll meet a secret enemy encounter with these two enormous Cerberus. Despite being bigger, they have the same speed and damage values as a normal Cerberus. Before patch 14b, flying into the Earth Mover's head would cause it to almost instantly explode, leading to a speedrun category being created under the name Lobotomy %. The reason this would occur is that flying into the head would trigger the defense system to activate prematurely. However, because this method was unintended, the brain still moves around within the Earth Mover's head, causing it to damage itself rapidly. During the Act 1 developer stream, Hakita says this.
You're not the main character of the story, basically.
At the time of this being said, it was unknown who Hakita was referring to as the main character. However, time has passed and Act 2 has concluded, in which it's clearly implied to be Gabriel. This is because he goes through immense character development during the second boss fight with him, causing him to flip his entire ideology on his head, which leads to him killing the entire Angel Council. Compare this to V1, who has remained a cold-blooded killer since the intro, with zero hints of any character development. From a writing standpoint, it would be a terrible decision to make V1 the main character. Faith is another New Blood title, which has an Ultrakill Easter egg in which RC, age 7, draws V1 on a poster. If you didn't pay attention to Ultrakill's intro, RC is Hakita's first name. In another New Blood title named Unfortunate Spacemen, there are Gabriel cosmetics and a voice pack for Gianni. One of the album covers for Violence features 3 mannequins. Translating their pose from flag semaphore, whatever the fuck that is, into English reads out the inspiring term, gay. This is one of the reasons the game received a woke rating on the woke games list. During the final 24 hours leading up to Act 2's launch, Hakita still hadn't made Gabriel's final boss theme. This caused him to crunch hard to get something usable within the time period, which led to the initial launch having an incredibly rushed version of the song. This was eventually swapped out for the fully made version, but you're currently listening to the old one. After holding Mandalore Gaming's plush for 5 minutes, it'll reveal a secret dialogue that reads,
"The waterfalls conceal the water ups. Agnes Gorge Trail. Use your ability and find size 2.
Interestingly, going into level 7S and going outside reveals a waterfall, and heading inside of it, a sign can be found which reads Agnes Gorge Trail. Completing the Easter egg to open the room at the end of the long tunnel doesn't seem to lead to anything related to this dialogue, however. Interestingly, if you activate cheats at all, it disappears. And it's not just the entrance that disappears, it's the entire thing, making it impossible to view in no clip. Back when Act 2 initially dropped, Hakita and the team accidentally left a whole bunch of work in progress files, some of which contained an unfinished version of level 5S. Entering the secret mission revealed it to be a fishing level, alongside unfinished geometry and a type of fish we would see in the final level. Among the leaks was also an unreleased version of the Ultrakill Must Die difficulty, which I covered in full in this video here. The Tree of Life is a concept found in many real religions, and is said to be the source of life. The tree resides in heaven, and its nectar is what provides life to beings. In Ultrakill's story, this nectar is blood, and is likely why machines are sentient, as all beings share the same blood. As for the Tree of Life itself, we know it's canon to Ultrakill from this artwork piece that is found in the Violence layer, and the book found in 7.1. No! In Ultrakill 06, one of the earliest videos of the game, Hakita showcases the first weapon variant besides the default weapon at the time, the Piercer. This was a revolver that, when shot at a surface, would ricochet off and use up the charge and spin around. This idea was then scrapped for the Marksman and then later unscrapped for the Sharpshooter after Hakita decided he wanted a revolver variant that could interrupt enemy projectiles. Despite Minos being rather handsome, zooming into his head reveals that he might have lice. The blocky pattern on his head is extremely similar to that of the city we enter in level 2-2. This could be interpreted as Minos putting his cities above himself, literally. As explained prior, V1's camera is purposefully low resolution, so it's plausible that Minos has a 4K replica of his city on the top of his head. From information taken from the Act 1 developer stream, projectile boosting began life as a glitch. The original code for the shotgun was never designed for the player, but for the Swords Machine boss fight, and it was later then reused for the player character. Since the player was able to parry Swords Machine pellets, it was possible to do the same with your own. Eventually, the timing was manually tweaked into becoming a proper feature with unique style bonuses. voices. When fighting in combat, you'll often hear this noise. However, looking for that same sound effect in the game files will leave you scratching your head, because it doesn't exist. It's actually an edited version of an existing sound effect. Oddly enough, this sound effect is... it's unknown if this has any lore reasoning behind it. During the Act 1 developer video, it's explained that Ultrakill's original story was not set in hell whatsoever. The Prelude was originally a space station in space, and the player would be a male astronaut. This astronaut would slowly grow mad during the course of the game, to the point where the shapes of the levels would warp and distort until they stopped making sense. From this concept, Hikita then made the Cerberus music track, which is meant to drive itself in circles to emphasize the madness of this astronaut character. Before Ultrakill, Hikita was working on a game named Untraceable. During development of this game, he would make the model which would then be repurposed into the Cerberus enemy. At the time, he named this model Andre because the model was holding an apple, and saying Andre's apple sounds a lot like Untraceable. Continuing on from old Hikita games, it's Black Lodge, a horror game which would merge the gameplay of PT with the Black Lodge from Twin Peaks. Despite only being in development for 2 days, there's an unlisted video on the Hikita YouTube channel. It features the same Cerberus model as before, as well as various other assets which would be reused in Ultrakill. This is an old, forgotten artist who went by the name Red Herring. They made many music pieces such as What the Fuck? Yeah, this is Hikita's original username before rebranding into what we know nowadays. There's even a full version of The Fire Is Gone on his Bandcamp page. There's also this channel, which I'm 99% sure is also a secret Hikita alt, or not a secret. Size 2 is the biggest mystery in all of Ultrakill. Originally debuting on the 17th of March 2023, Ultrakill was introduced to a fishing minigame. Upon gathering your first fish, you're met with a text that reads size 1, which indicates of course that you can gather multiple sizes of fish. Despite this, any amount of fish gathering ends up with this painfully same result, a regularly sized one fish. Entering the well reveals a plan, an entire computer network dedicated to finding the truth. Where is the size 2 fish? Exploring the island more reveals a bottled note, which depicts someone heading out to sea to search for the size 2. However, despite my extremely vigorous testing, it's seemingly impossible to find them. This incredibly difficult puzzle is still perplexing the community to this day, and will most likely continue to do so for many generations. Thank you again, War Thunder, for sponsoring this video. Make sure to check it out for free on PC, Xbox, PlayStation, and mobile, and use my pinned comment or description links to register. New returning members who haven't played for 6 months will get a massive bonus pack across PC and consoles, which include multiple premium vehicles, in-game currency, and 7 days of premium account.